another episode of Sessions with Mary Jane. I am your host, Jordan Freed.
And I'm Brendan O'Brien.
And we are back with a jack of all trades, kind of an everyman man. He has been an actor in cult classics such as The Last House on the Left, and he is also a comedian, and he also has done other things as well that he's going to tell us about. Give it up for Marc Sheffler.
Woo, thanks for being on the show, Mark.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. It's good to have you. I actually watched The Last House on the Left today because I wanted to make sure I did my research. I wasn't sure whether I had watched it before in the past, but it's definitely a tough 3 p.m. watch.
It's not an after-school, afternoon movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely not that. But it's still here, It's like, it's amazing. It is literally the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. In what way?
Pardon me?
In what way?
Well, I've gotten a chance over the years. Remember, I made the movie when I was 21, right? Mm. So I'm 73 now. Mm. So that's a 52-year differential. So I've gotten the opportunity personally to evolve my opinion of it, mm-hmm. and to evolve my relationship with it. I've also had the amazing opportunity through appearances at horror film conventions to interact with this massive cross-generational fan base that Last House has, and discover why it exists. Mm. Because, all things being honest, when it was finished, I looked at it, and even though I was like 21 years old, I stood there with David Heston and Fred Lincoln outside of a screening room on the west side of New York, outside of a Filmways. And we all kind of like said to each other to the effect, hey, it was really great meeting you. Love working with you. I think we're going to be friends for a long time, which of course we were, but no one's ever going to come and see this piece of shit. Mm-hmm. It shows you how much, none of us knew about this thing called fucking Lucky, just this. Wow. That's the amazing thing for me, is it like, 52 years later, we're still talking about it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. There's so many things going on. Also, not to mention, you probably went through a bunch of different eras of movie watching, and people have probably rediscovered your films from VHS times to DVD times to now the streaming times. People are probably coming back to it. I was able to watch it for free on Pluto, and I'm sure somebody is getting royalties somehow from that.
But one of the strongest links in that chain has been parents who make their children watch it so that they understand what can happen if they make a wrong decision. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you the number of times I've signed pictures at shows with parents and their teenage children, boys and girls, males, females, where parents saying, yeah, I saw this when I was a kid, and I damn sure made sure my kids saw it. And kids would say to me, yeah, my parents made me see this because they wanted me to know what happens if I fucked up, just like, and that gave me like a real unique understanding of what continuing impact, Wes's vision still has on people. And he would like that, I think. He was a good guy, and I think that would make him feel good.
Yeah. What were things that you could take away from the experience? Like, because he was such a young director when he did that. Like, what did you see already?
First time.
Yeah.
Wow.
What did you see from that experience that you knew, like, wow, this guy is legit?
Okay, so looking back, as I've done, I have relived that 20-day shoot many times in my life, in my head, at different periods of time in my life, and for different reasons. Wes was an innate storyteller, right? he had no experience directing, and that's why I can tell you that the final product, what you see on screen, really was a collaboration of Wes and Sean and Wes and us and us. I say the four bad guys, us together, bonding. I mean, to have a movie that has this kind of impact, whether it's a studio production or an independent like we were, you got to have like a lot of fucking luck. And that luck is born out of the chemistry that exists between your leads. And if they have good chemistry and, like the Ocean's 11 movies, right? On a different genre, that group of people, Brad Pitt and George Clooney and Julia Roberts, that they've assembled. They have excellent they have excellent chemistry together. They're fun to watch in the same room, right? They are, because they're just going to go at each other. It's going to be fun. Well, on the negative side and the side of bizarre criminals, Jeremy, David, Freddie, and I had some version, much, less because of the budgets and everything, but some version of that. And we just gelled. The fact that we were unknowns, so that added, the mystery to it, because you couldn't say, oh, there's this actor in that role. Nobody knew who we were. So this could almost be a documentary. A lot of elements went together, that were some in our control as part of the film, and some just fucking luck, just dumb fucking luck.
Yeah. If you could pick 3 words to describe what it felt like to work on that set, what would those words be?
Amazing first experience.
Wow, cool.
Okay. Because now I look back and I know a lot, right? Because I'm 73 and I've had a nice career and I've been on a lot of sets and produced stuff and written and directed. And so I know a lot. And now I look back on that and the foundations, the pillars of everything I know about filmmaking and production today began there. That gave me, watching that production go from a few meetings in Sean's office to Connecticut to makeup people and wardrobe and, sets and lights and a camera and Jesus Christ, we're fucking doing this. That produced in me, that journey, that very short-lived journey produced, I guess, an amazing amount of endorphins, because I love doing that. I mean, I just love it. Just that there's a high when you're in that zone.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be part of that always.
Yeah. So going back a little bit, when did you first develop a love for film, or how did you first get interested in film in your life?
Well,
perfectly timed sound effect.
I know, right? Can you pause this at all? Or are we live?
We could pause. Yeah. We could edit.
Yeah. This is. I got a wife. I got to take this.
No worries.
Oh. Yeah. Wrong number. Anyway.
Cool.
Okay. So the question was, I believe, when did I? How did I get involved? When did it? It didn't start with film. It started because before I did Last House, I was, while I was also doing stand-up, right? So I was performing. So the whole performing thing was already part of my life. And that began, let me see. You see that picture above me?
Yeah.
It's a little blurry to us, but what is it?
A little blurry. Okay. I'll show you a version of it, but anyway, that's me at, from my 10th birthday party. And the people around me are the Three Stooges.
Oh, awesome.
And what happened was I was a huge Three Stooges fan when I was a kid. So in the run up to my 10th birthday, my dad, who was this out of the box aluminum siding salesman, this real fucking character, right? And, custom made suits and alligator shoes and, gold cufflinks, so like really like exactly what you would imagine. And he said to me, you know, you're going to be 10 years old. That's double digits, man. They said, this is the biggest decade in your life. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you're 10 now, you're a boy, but you know, at the end of this decade, you'll be 20, you'll be a young man. And I remember going, oh shit, I never even thought of that. Wow, this is it. This is fucking it, right? This is all I got left as a kid. This is it. So my dad said to me, I want to get you something special for your birthday. I don't want to, not a regular birthday gift. I want to do something special for you to kick off the decade. And I said, okay. My dad said, just go ahead and ask me. Just whatever you want. So I said, how about the Three Stooges? So what do you mean? I said, I want to meet the Three Stooges. So my dad, again, he wasn't one of these guys who said, oh, son, that's very good, but, I can't do that. My dad said, yeah, let me think about it. Let me figure this out. So it turns out he called a buddy of his at a nightclub in Pittsburgh called the Holiday House, who was the talent booker. And because he knew that the Stooges had performed there. Uh-huh. And he put him in touch. That guy put him in touch with the Stooges agent. And they all revealed to my dad that the Stooges were going to be in Pittsburgh in January of the next year. My birthday's in September. So he makes a tentative deal with them, comes back to me and says, hey, look, here's the deal. I can get you the Stooges. But you have to wait 3 months because that's when they're going to be there. And that's the only time in their schedule when I can get them. So my dad looked at me and said, what do you think? I said, yeah, what are you kidding? I said, yuck, motherfucking yuck. Yeah. Right. So come the day, right? And we go there and they start with all, like 60 people, friends and family, other people, friends of my dad, and in the nightclub, where they're performing. So in the middle of the show, Mo stops the show and he says to the audience, I understand we're here to celebrate Mark's birthday. Where's Mark? Oh. So I look at my dad and my dad, like this, and I raise my hand and, they put the spotlight on me. And Mo says, I hear on the grapevine, Mark, that you're Pittsburgh's #1 Stooge fan. Is that true? And I said, I'm starting to get a little balls here. I said, yes, it is true, Mo. Then, Mo says, well, why don't you come up here on stage with us and tell me all about it? And I shit my fucking pants, man. I turned into Jackie Gleason on The Honeymooners, like that, right? So I looked at my dad, and my dad, I'm trying to remember exactly how he said it, but he leaned over and he said, there's no time to explain this now, but you better get your ass up on that stage. and I said, okay. So I went up on stage, and I don't know, man, I couldn't see anybody out in the audience because of the lights. They handed me a microphone, and there I was with Mo, Larry, and Curly Joe DeRita. And I started, they started doing their shit, and I kind of wove into it, right? And I knew all the material, so I knew once I heard an opening line, I knew where it was going. And Mo was surprised. They were all surprised. And after about a minute of that, Mo stops everything again, puts his hand on my head, and he says, I dub you the 4th Stooge.
Wow.
Nuts, right? They went 60 people turned into like 6,000. They went fucking nuts. Oh. And all of a sudden, I felt this thing. The only way I can describe it, just from watching and reading TV and books, watching TV and movies and reading books, that must be what it's like the first time someone smokes opium in one of those Chinese opium. I felt this warm rush coming at me, like this tidal wave of just cool. Oh man. And it hugged me. Huh. And I didn't intellectualize it, but I look back at my life, and that's the day when I decided that this is where I was going. Huh. It just completely flipped a switch in me. And from that day forward, I kind of directed my entire life, my being, towards comedy and jokes, and and I went through transitions, and I look back now and I didn't realize, but I was writing jokes. I just didn't know it, I watched a lot of TV. I was a latchkey kid, so I watched a lot of TV. So you guys know you ever hear the TV show The Rifleman?
No.
Okay. So The Rifleman, you're good because you don't know anything about it. So let's see if I can explain it to you.
Cool.
The Rifleman starred a former baseball player by the name of Chuck Connors, big, tall, good-looking guy. And the premise of the show took place in New Mexico in the 1860s, after the Civil War. He was a Civil War veteran on the side of the North, married, but his wife died, left him with a son. He pulled up stakes and moved to New Mexico. And now he has a small ranch outside of North Fork, New Mexico. Now, he's the rifleman. And what that means is he has a Winchester rifle that has a special loop on it and then a trigger pusher. I don't know. I'm Jewish. I don't know how to say it. Trigger pusher thing where he can fire off 100 rounds or something, like the faster than some. So that's his thing, right? So and they have this farm, this working farm ranch. So he has a son whose name is Mark. So when I watched the pilot, I started adopting all of these Western mannerisms because it's a single guy raising a son named Lucas. My father's name was Leonard. He's a single man raising a son named Mark, right? So, my father's this fast talking, slick dressing, Cadillac driving, aluminum siding salesman. So he turns to me one day and says, you hungry? Let's go up to Weinstein's. Let's go to the deli. And I said, yeah, Pa, I could do with some vittles. And he looked at me, what the fuck are you talking? What? So that's, but you're laughing because that's what I was saying to him, but those were jokes.
Yeah.
Right. That was the routine. Those were not now that was a routine, but that was a routine back then. So my life became that. And I don't know. I mean, I talked to friends who know me back in that day, and nobody is surprised that, I went into the entertainment business. Yeah. Nobody is no, you did that? Really? No, it's not like that. Yeah, of course you did it.
Yeah.
So.
How was it when you actually shifted into doing stand-up?
When I was 19, dropped out of college, went to New York, then went to the Catskill Mountains, became stage manager of the Raleigh Hotel in South Fallsburg in the Catskills, taking care of this 1,500 seat nightclub, right? And saw every stand-up comedian on that circuit multiple times in the summer of 1969, and then for about 9 months after that. And then I went to work, and I was writing jokes and putting together stuff. I had not yet actually performed. Then I went to work for a comedian. You probably don't know the name. His name was London Lee. Long story short.
Okay.
You know who he was?
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, like the rich kid, right? This guy who had a routine. It was all about because he's like a non-offensive, an inoffensive, buffoony version of a Jewish Trump family, right? Very wealthy. Yeah. But his family really had the money. His father was a international dress salesman, had a big building on 7th Avenue. Anyway, and I started working with him. I started as his driver. Then I wrote a couple of jokes for him that worked. And then he made me part of his act. So in the middle of his act, he would ask for a glass of water, and he would say, Mark, bring me a glass of water. I'd come out with a glass of water, and he would say to the audience, that's Mark. My father got him for me, right? And yeah, exactly. Laugh just like you. And then he and I would do a bit, right? he had. This is not my bit. He had this bit, which was he'd look at me and say, "Who am I?" And I said, "Oh, you're the boss." And he said, "Well, who are you?" And I said, "Me? I'm nothing." He said, "Yeah, well, what does that make me?" And I said, "It makes you the boss over nothing." and you know, and the audience would take my side, you know, like this little guy would laugh at it, yada, yada, yada. So we did this, I don't know, 5-6 months, you know, I'm doing it with him. It's like, I could do it with my eyes closed. One night at, I want to say Kutcher's, another hotel resort back then, 1,200, 1,500 seat nightclub, just like the Raleigh, kind of very similar. Do the bit, and I turn to walk out, to cross out, and I hear behind me, "Hey, stay here a second. I got to talk to you." He puts down the microphone. He says, "Look, I'm not feeling well. I think I'm coming down with something. Can you think you could do 5 minutes?" Because he knows that I go into New York and I, you know, go to little clubs and do. So now it's like fucking Saturday night, you know, in front of a very arrogant audience, right? An audience that's used to hearing like the best of the best. And I again shit my pants, but you know, it's like step up or step off. You know, it's like you either got to do it or you go back to square one. So I said, "Yeah, sure." So I went downstage center. He introduced me, gave me a very nice introduction, built me up, and I did 5 minutes or so, and they're laughing, and I hear London from behind me say, "All right, get the fuck off the stage." You know, so, I mean, it's not me. Right. So we're driving back to New York from up to the city, and he looks at me and says, "You did really nice tonight. Thank you." And I said, "Oh yeah, great, thank you." And he said, "You know, I'm not going to do that every night." And I said, "Look, I feel the same way about this as I did the first time I had sex. Doing it once was all I wanted. I wasn't thinking about the day after tomorrow. Right. I was just thinking about today. I just wanted to do it once." And he said, "No, you did real good. We'll do it again sometime, just not every time." And he did. We ended up doing it a few times. And then I spent 2 weeks with him. Last thing I did was a 2-week gig at the Copacabana in New York. Cool. And I got to do it a couple of times there, you know, not as much as I wanted to, but enough where I can, you know, legitimately say, yeah, I did stand up at the Copa in some way. And then I left London, got a manager, and shortly after that landed Last House on the Left, and all the time had been doing, you know, stand up and getting up and doing a few minutes here, a few minutes there. And then did Last House. There's a whole period in my life, and then wrote a script, sold the first script I ever wrote.
What was that script?
Huh?
What was that script?
That script was a movie of the week for NBC. Oh, wow. That got bought, sold, paid, and never made. But Welcome to Television got me a great agent, put money in my pocket, got me a car, an apartment, an office. You know, everything has its upside. You can't just nail one thing, right? You know, it was my transition to Hollywood, and I didn't come here. You know, I don't have like the typical Hollywood story where somebody comes here and they work as a waiter or a bartender and they struggle. No, the day I landed in California to move here from back east, I had a car, I had an apartment, I had an office, I'd sold the first script I ever wrote, money in the bank, and William Morris as an agent. So, you know, I thought that's just the way it went.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, they got me into the Comedy Store, William Morris. They asked me if I wanted to do stand-up, and, you know, I said, yeah. So they called Mitzi, and Mitzi wouldn't give me, she didn't know me, so she wouldn't give me a regular time right away. She said, but I'll give him, you know, like a Monday night, open mic night. I'll give him a time there, so a definite time. So I went a couple of weeks before, watched the store, watched the comedians, kind of got a sense of the difference between New York humor that day and California. So I wrote a bunch of shit for here and did a set, went fine. They asked me back. I tweaked it, came back the second week. It worked much better. Tweaked it again, came back the third week. And it turns out, coincidentally, Mitzi was showcasing somebody else, and she's sitting in her booth showcasing a couple of people showcasing somebody else. And I had made it my point to get in her eye line over the last few weeks. So she knew who I was. I thanked her, told her I was the guy from, that William Morris had arranged with her. And she said, "Oh, I know who you are." And that was good, right? Yeah. All right. So anyway, I get my third time, and it's this kick-ass time spot. It's like 10:15, 10:20, 10:15, 10:30 or something. Just audience is hot. All the comedians in front of that time spot did really, really well. Nobody bombed. So the audience has known nothing but caviar, and food for the night. Yeah. They're up. So I know from the 150, 200 club dates I did with London, all I got to do is keep them here to do well. I don't have to do anything other than not lose them. So I came out and I fucking killed it. It was just one of those nights. Everything worked, and they were already up here. So I went off to like huge applause. And I see Mitzi in her booth, and I keep thinking, and then my father popped into my head and said, fuck this shit. So I ran over to her and I said, no, I went right over to her. I said, "Mitzi, does it have to get much better than this?" And she took a pause and she looked at me and she said, "All right, Mark, call in for spots." And that was 3 weeks after I'd been there, like three times. Wow. That was it. Wow. Yeah. And then shortly after that, I got a manager, because back in those days, I don't think it's the same way now, because I just don't get that sense. But back then, a lot of talent representatives used to comb the Comedy Store and the Improv. Like, they're there every night. Every night, those guys were there, and women. So they're there. And one thing I'll tell you is that anyone who is anyone today in comedy, if they went through the Comedy Store to get there, you weren't up on that stage more than a month before some real talent manager or agent approached you to represent you. Like Charlie Jaffe grabbed Robin and David Letterman like so fast. Like yeah. Robin first. Charlie was manager, Roland Jaffe, right? And they had Woody Allen, David Letterman, whole bunch, Billy Crystal, whole bunch of people. But I didn't know Jack Rollins, but I knew Charlie kind of well, and he good manager, but he had Robin and then Larry Bresner, who worked in the office, became Robin's manager. It was an amazing environment, guys. It was just, I look back and I'm writing a book right now about my life called Dumb Effing Luck. And that's the title of it. So, and I'm really writing it. I'm 170 pages into it. So, but it was just dumb effing luck that I arrived there. Like, we all arrived there. Dave Letterman had been there a couple of months already after I'd gotten there, before I got there. Robin was there for like a week or 2 weeks. Let me see. Leno had been there and back to Boston, but now is here. And just anyone, Michael Keaton was there as part of us. So, yeah, I know. You're laughing, right?
I knew he did stand up. It's just funny, yeah.
Yeah. Like, we were all on the same shows together. Yeah. Right? So, it was a time, man. It was just a time. It was in this amazing bubble of history, of just fucking history. Yeah. Just, I know. It's fucking great. Yeah.
What was one of the most memorable nights from the Comedy Store for you? Because you probably had a lot of late nights, probably had a lot of long nights.
A lot of late nights, a lot of long nights. Let me see. Okay. I'll tell you a story. So one of the things I realized after being at the Comedy Store for, I don't know, a month, 2 months, is that I would never, ever, ever have to go to a singles bar the rest of my life. I'd never. Because being up on that stage at that time, you'd look out there and you'd see like tables full of women. They'd go out partying. Remember what time this is, like the 70s, right? Middle 70s. People are out partying, just doing shit, just having fun. So you get up on stage, and I used to do this thing where if I saw a bunch of girls and any one of them was looking at me, I would subtly test her interest by moving one way or moving another. And if I saw somebody watching me going like this, then I would take it to the next step, which was I would do like a setup of a joke to one part of the audience and then deliver the punchline right to this girl, whoever she was. That's the comedian's effect of a romantic singer singing a song to a lady in the audience.
Yeah.
Best we can do is do a punchline in her direction, right? As long as it's not offensive or anything, right? So one particular night, I spot somebody who I know is looking at me, because by now I've recognized what that's like. And I do the thing with the punchline, and it works. I walk off the stage, I go in the back, and she hops off the table and follows me. So one thing leads to another. I had a house in the Laurel Canyon area, like minutes from the Comedy Store, very convenient. I hop back in my car and I head back up the hill, and there I am in the house.
Wow.
So we're there, we're in bed, we're doing it, we're finished. She's getting dressed. I'm not getting dressed because I live there. She tells me, there's something I have to tell you. And I said, look, as long as it's not like microbially related, disease related, you don't have to tell me anything. You don't even have to tell me your last name. So she said, well, I want to tell you. I said, all right, go ahead. She said, I'm seeing another comedian. I said, you understand that we met like an hour ago and we're fucking. I don't think this is a problem. She said, well, I just thought you ought to know. You want to know who it is? I said, again, I go to my first answer, unless this is disease oriented. I don't care. So she blurts out, well, it's David Letterman.
Oh, shit.
And I don't say anything. And she said, well, don't you have something to say? I said, yes, I do. She said, what? I said, I admire your range.
Damn.
That's enough. Now, I don't know if she was telling the truth or she wasn't telling the truth. I never went up to Letterman and said, hey, you fucking this guy named Nancy, this girl named Nancy, I don't know. So who knows if she was telling the truth, but that's a story. Then here's a Robin story. One night we're at the original room, Comedy Store, Sunset, late, like 11:30ish, hanging out in the back. And Robin is like turning circles. And I said, what's wrong? He said, I lent my car to somebody and I got a spot in Westwood and they're not back yet and I can't get a hold of them and I'm fucked. And Robin was like, he had to perform, like people have to breathe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said, well, come on, I'll take you. So I took him over there, walk in the Comedy Store in Westwood. There are 3 people in the audience. There's like 12, 15 and nobody's there. 3 people. Ladies and gentlemen, Robin Williams. He gets up on the stage, does 100% the exact same show he would have done if there were 130 people in the audience, giving those 3 people, if they're still alive, an extraordinary memory. Because he left the stage, he went down and sat with them, he did comedy, he did his act, part of his act right from the tape. I mean, so we're getting in the car coming back, and I said to him, great show. And he was very shy and very humble. And he said, oh, thanks, man. I said, no, not that you can do a great show. Everybody knows that. But you did that same show that for 3 people that you do for 300 people. And in the most innocent way possible, he looks at me and says, yeah, well, you gotta. And I thought to myself, well, there's a fucking lesson.
Yeah.
There's the universe offering up some knowledge if I want to take it. And that was one of the great lessons of that. That's one of my moments at the Comedy Store, aside from the extraordinary amount of fun that everybody had.
We're actually going to take a quick.
Yeah.
Higher than I am.
Yeah. So we were just talking about the Comedy Store. So I was kind of curious, like how, like, what's from the time that you started doing comedy all the way through until now, like, what are like the biggest things that you've seen that have changed for better or for the worse in the comedy world?
Well, this may be controversial, but there are just too many fucking comedians. And you know, I'm ambiguous about that because, of course, everybody has an inherent right to pursue their passions, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has that right. Not everybody has what it takes to be a brain surgeon, or to be a lawyer, or to be a nuclear scientist. You may be passionate about it, but it's just not your thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that, you know, people have lost the ability or to laugh a lot, right? Mm-hmm. At themselves. You know?
Yeah.
Things that are jokeable, that are areas of humor that are inoffensive humor, or I've seen people get offended, and you try to wonder, what is it that they're offended about? Mm-hmm. Like, you know, if somebody says something that's like racially offensive, you can track the line back to, you know, oppression and suffering and inhumanity. So that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, if you attack somebody personally, also for the same reasons, you're using a gavel to swat a fly, also wrong. You know, like I have a friend who I've known since I was a kid, who's an attorney and a bunch of other things, and he said to me that I was always funny as a kid, but what he remembers was that nothing I was ever doing was ever at the expense of anyone else. Mm-hmm. So I think that people have adopted, people who where it doesn't exist, people have adopted a mantle that makes them a victim, and therefore, because they're loosely associated with a victim group, then they're a victim. I mean, I don't know. A joke is a joke. You know, things that are funny are funny. I try never to write anything that's offensive to any individual person, unless that's my goal. Mm. Like, I write a lot of Donald Trump jokes, but you know, that's my goal. I think I go to the Comedy Store every now and then and I watch. And I believe that the biggest common denominator observation, and it's not just mine, a lot of other guys from my generation have the same opinion, is that the preponderance of young comedians don't know what a fucking punchline is. They know what a setup is because that's all they have, a lot of them. They have these funny concept setups that are sort of funny, but there's no, there's an old thing in comedy writing that a setup is you're pulling the rubber band, right, before you snap it. So the more you pull it, the more distance you have, the greater the snap. Yeah. So all they have is they just pull it and they pull it and they pull it. And then it just goes on into infinity. And there's never
Yeah.
Set up, oh, isn't that amusing, right? Oh, that's amusing. But there's no hardcore fucking punchline. That's why you haven't seen any new Robin Williams around. Or because Robin was nothing but punchlines. Yeah. You haven't right. So you haven't seen any new major comedy stars because people either swear, which is, the worst offense to me is somebody who just comes out and yells, motherfucker and thinks that's a joke. And there's nothing funny behind it. There's nothing really funny behind it. Yeah. But, somebody will break through and then that person will just be purely funny. Like, you guys know who John Mulaney is?
Yeah.
He's I've seen him like half a dozen times in the club. He's really a funny guy. Sebastian is a funny guy. Yeah. But he's an older guy, and so is John's been around for a while now. I'm talking about the young guys. Yeah. So I don't know. That's all I know.
Yeah. Nice. Lessons to be learned. Yeah. Lessons to be learned and lessons to be taken in. What else have you gotten into in all of your years of Hollywood? Yeah, what are you up to?
What? I have a movie that I'm in called. Do one of you have a computer or something that you could go on?
Yep.
Type in The Once and Future Smash.
All right. I did see this coming up, or this is this year.
I'm in that, and it's having its North American premiere Wednesday night at the TCL Chinese Theater in Hollywood, California, and I will be attending the premiere.
Oh, awesome.
Heck yeah. Oh,
it's just got extraordinary reviews. Just world premiere was at Fright Fest in London. And it got like a dozen kick-ass fucking reviews. Just amazing.
Damn.
It's a mockumentary, right?
Oh, okay, cool. I was curious.
So I'll just thumbnail it for you. It is to horror movies what Spinal Tap was to rock and roll.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
And that's not me. That I pulled that comparison from like a dozen reviews who made that comparison themselves.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Cool.
So, yeah. And I'm so thrilled to be in it. And I'm just like, and Sophia and Michael, the two directors, they're married and they're just amazing and wonderful. And Neil Jones, who was the producer who got me involved in it. Just the good luck that's happening to these guys because they made it all through COVID. They shot a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit and a little, and they kept their vision through all the bullshit and they just worked hard. And I'm going to see it for the first time on Wednesday, but just from reading the reviews, I know a good review when I spot one.
Yeah.
I know many good reviews when I spot them.
Yeah. What was it about this project that hooked you and made you want to do it more than anything else?
Well, it wasn't more than anything else. It was like the end of I think it was in November I did my work. What happened was Neil called me up, Neil Jones, and said to me, hey, I'm involved in the movie, and he told me about it. And it was the moment he told me that he wanted me to appear as myself. and I thought, okay, somebody's doing something on horror films and they want me in the film as me. Then I'm all in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like an ego tickle, right? That not only did they want me in it, they want me to be me in it.
Yeah.
So, I said yes. We shot in one afternoon, and it was fun. And I took my youngest son, who's 37 years old back then, and he sat and watched me do it. And he was just in awe of the fact that I just completely was able to make everything up on the spot. And he said, "Dad, how do you do that?" And he said, "Actually, I don't know, man. It's just my thing,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And it's just, if you look at the credits, it's just a great bunch of people, just people who were really just committed to making this thing be what the best of that they could contribute to Michael and Sophia's vision and Neil's vision.
Are you still an aficionado of horror films? Like, are you watching current horror films, or no? You're just around the culture now. Yeah.
I was never an aficionado of horror films, but my life has taken me down that road at times to many places that I never thought I'd go. My wife is a huge horror film fan. We go to sleep every night to people being murdered and slaughtered. And
Oh wait, what's your favorite? What's your recommend for your favorite go to sleep movie?
Ooh, favorite go to sleep movie. I don't know. We watch these we watch these obscure. There's some Scandinavian, busting head with axe movies that are pretty good. I'm hooked on Scandinavian police dramas.
Oh wow.
I don't know why this is, but unlike most foreign languages, except for Spanish, which I understand, I can turn my back to the screen and they can keep talking, and somehow I know what's going on. I don't know what they're saying, but I seem to understand the tone of it. Anyway, so I don't know. Go to sleep. Just anything. I mean, just go to Netflix. I know I should be. I don't remember titles, man. I just remember how many people were killed, they were killed.
What was the craziest thing that's ever happened to you on your way to buy weed?
Oh, good question.
Since that's kind of how that movie takes off. The girls just wanted a little reefer. A little grass.
Okay. So I had a roommate in my house in Laurel Canyon. And he was a chemical refreshment salesman. And I mentioned to him one night that we were running low on weed. I'll see if I can get some tonight while I'm out. He said, "No, don't worry. He has it covered." I said, "Okay." I go to the Comedy Store. I do my set and hang out for a while, come back. And by the time I'd come back, there were 40-pound bales of Colombian weed all over my house.
Oh my God.
And I said, "What is this?" He said, "Only going to be here overnight." I said, "But it's everywhere. There's no place to sit. There's no place in the kitchen. It's in the bedrooms." He said, "It's one night." I said, "I understand. That's the bad news." I said, "What's the good news?" He said, "Told me we could have as much as we wanted." We don't have to go buy any. That's probably the craziest thing. And then, that's probably the craziest thing.
Yeah, definitely. What was?
I don't. But go ahead.
Never mind. Keep going.
No, please.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, what is it about the West Coast that has kept you out there? Because you're an East Coaster, right? I am, and I've been back occasionally for some time periods. It's just great out. It's open spaces. Like, my wife and I are very lucky people. We over the course of a year we live in 3 different places.
We're in 3 different places. Right now, I'm in Indio, California, where we have a house, and then I'm going to our apartment in LA on Wednesday, and then about 3 months a year we spend with her family in Colombia.
Cool.
So we move around, and as far as Los Angeles and the Southern California region, it's been very good to me. It's like I told you earlier that it kind of, and it goes back to what my dad said. When I left college, I was going to come to California right away, and my dad said, "No, don't do that." And I thought, well, why? Because he's always telling me to just go out and do shit. And he said, California is a strange place. He said, you might get there, but when you get there, don't go with your dick in your hand. Just be patient. And if you're supposed to be out there, it'll pull you toward it, right? So he told me that when I was 19. I was, when I was 19, right after I dropped out of college. So I took his advice and went to New York. Everything that happened. And then when I went to California, it's exactly what happened. It reached out and grabbed me. It pulled me there. I didn't go there on my own. It pulled me toward it. It gave me things it had things for me. So I guess I have a love affair with because it's just been really good to me. My kids were raised here. One still lives here. He's an extraordinary private event chef, like a Michelin trained event chef.
Cool.
Yeah, he's amazing. So it's just been really good to me. I love California because, we can basically do anything we want. I still haven't gotten over this. Where do you guys live?
New Jersey.
Jersey, yeah.
Good.
It's been legal for the last year or two now,
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand that I'm 73 years old. That's what it says on my driver's license. But I promise you, I am the most immature motherfucker for 73. No. I have to remind myself on a weekly basis that, I'm out of puberty. So I have a thing I do. If I drive into a dispensary that's in a strip mall, if there's a cop car there, right, I'll drive away from the dispensary and park as close to the cop car as I can. Get out of my car and say, "Excuse me, officer, I'm a little lost. I heard there's a place to buy marijuana around here." And there's, there it is. You see it? It's behind that. See where that green cross is? Oh, yeah, thanks. Hey, you have a good one. You too. I do that every fucking time. I can't stop doing it. I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't stop. It's so I am very immature. I hold it together very few places in life do I hold it together where, not many, which is one of the great problems that I have with my wife is that, I'm 19 or 20 and she's a grown woman. And
Yeah.
no, and I've never, the fact that I've had the kind of career that I've had contributed to that. I've never had to grow up. I've had to be responsible, but I've never really had to grow up,
Yeah.
I've learned how to, pretty much interact with the world on my own terms. And that keeps you young.
Amen.
Yeah, because the only voice you have in your head is your own. Ain't somebody else's.
Damn straight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Well, I think I speak for both of us when I say this was a very fantastic conversation. It was really great talking to you, Mark.
I talk a lot. I apologize for that.
No, you can talk as much as you want. These stories were great, and it was really great talking to you.
That's what happens when you're your own favorite subject. Shit happens.
Yes, well, Mark, please continue to talk about yourself as you please plug all the stuff online that you have or any projects that you have coming up that you want to give one more shout out.
I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book called Dumb Effing Luck. It'll be done when it's done. I have a movie coming out and maybe a TV series. I don't know.
Cool.
Cool.
On the producing side. So.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Looking forward to hearing more about it.
Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Sessions with Mary Jane. Yeah.
You have a good one.
Thank you too, man.
Bye.
Bye.